On Christmas morning my dad hugged me, then announced he used my college fund to buy my sister a salon. "It's her turn," he said casually, like it was fair. "And my mom?" She laughed. "You were never really business material anyway. My name is Juliana Reese. And from wherever you're watching this, tell me in comments, have you ever been treated like a stranger in your own family?" The tree lights blinked behind them like they were mocking me. The smell of cinnamon rolls filled the room, but my mouth was dry. My sister, Candace, sat smug, twirling the key to her new salon like it was some game show prize. I was holding a small box in my hand, my gift for Dad. But after what he said, felt like a joke. They didn't even look at me when they made the announcement. They just sipped cocoa and smiled like it was obvious, like I should be grateful. "Candace deserves a head start," Mom added. "She's the one who stuck around. You were always off in your books." No one saw the way my fingers gripped the ribbon of that box. No one heard the way my heart cracked, and then went quiet. I was supposed to start at NYU in January. Pre-law. I had the acceptance letter folded like scripture in my journal. That fund was in my name. It was my future. And they stole it with a bow on top. But I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't even flinch. I just smiled. Soft. Cold. Controlled. And I handed Dad the small black box. "Open it," I whispered. My voice didn't even shake. He unwrapped it slowly. The room got quieter. Candace leaned in. Inside was one thing, a single USB drive. Labeled in gold Sharpie, "Play Me." He looked confused. Mom raised an eyebrow. But I just stared at him. "Go ahead," I said. "Let's all watch it together." He plugged it into the TV. The screen flickered. And when the footage started rolling, his hands began to tremble. And just like that, Christmas changed. Forever. The screen lit up with grainy security footage. At first no one understood what they were seeing. A date stamped in the corner. July 17th, 2:43 a.m. Dad's office. Dim lighting. And the unmistakable silhouette of my father. He was standing by his desk, sliding envelopes full of cash into a man's duffel bag. Candace gasped. Mom's cocoa mug clinked hard against the floor. "And Dad?" Dad turned pale, like his skin forgot how to hold blood. "Juliana," he said sharply, "turn it off." But I didn't move. Neither did Candace. We were frozen, hypnotized by the ugly truth finally breathing on the screen. The man he handed the bag to? A known city inspector. One whose name had been in the papers last year. Bribery charges. Licensing fraud. But no one had linked anything to my dad. Till now. "You paid off an inspector," I said quietly, eyes locked on him. "To fast-track Candace's salon permit. Last summer." I don't know what this is," he stammered. "This is out of context." How did you?" "Oh, there's context," I said. "There's another video too. One where you joke about hiding it under my name." Candace turned to him slowly. "Wait, what?" I kept going, my voice calm and deliberate, like slicing paper with a razor. "You put the property deed under my social, Dad. You used my identity because you knew if it ever came back it would ruin someone. You just didn't think it'd ever surface." He looked at me like I was a stranger. Like he was realizing for the first time. I wasn't the quiet little girl anymore. "You wanted to say I wasn't business material?" I leaned forward. "Well, I learned from watching you." Silence rang louder than carols. Mom suddenly shouted, "Turn it off. This is family. You're embarrassing us." I turned to her cold. "You embarrassed yourselves." And I wasn't done. I pulled out a manila envelope from under the tree. Labeled, IRS Whistleblower Program. Dad's breath caught in his throat. Because now he understood what kind of box he'd really opened. Not just a gift. Coffin. For his lies. Dad lunged from the couch, grabbing the remote like he could undo it all with a button. But the damage was already bleeding through the walls. Candace stood now too, staring at him like he was a stranger. "You put her name on the property?" she asked, voice sharp, trembling. "You said it was clean. You said everything was above board." "I had to," he snapped, red-faced. "The bank wouldn't approve the permit with my name on it after the audit." "You used me like a ghost," I said. "My name, my future, my identity. All so your favorite could play entrepreneur without consequence." His jaw clenched. This was a family decision. "No," I whispered. "This was betrayal. You just picked the daughter you thought would never fight back. Candace suddenly turned to me. Wait, how did you even get those files? I smiled. Small. Hollow. Vicious. Your salon's Wi-Fi isn't password protected. Rookie mistake. Candace's eyes flared then narrowed. You set me up. No, I said, tilting my head. You set me up when you let them drain my college fund behind my back. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw it, the guilt flickering beneath the mascara. He knew. She'd always known. You said you didn't know where the money came from. That Dad was making things work. I took a step closer. You let me believe it was gone, like magic, while you smiled through pedicures and ribbon cuttings. Candace looked away, and then Mom stood up. That's enough. I don't care what you think you've uncovered. We are your family. And you don't turn your family into the government. I turned my eyes on her, slow, deliberate. You did that the moment you decided I was disposable. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't listening anymore. Because the final files were uploading in the background. To a cloud folder shared with the IRS, 3 law firms, and one very curious investigative reporter I'd met through the university's legal internship I wasn't supposed to have. I'm not the failure you thought I was, I said softly. I'm not your mistake. Just then my phone pinged. Upload. 100% complete. The room fell into a deeper silence. A silence that felt like justice blooming. Candace sank back down. Dad sat head in hands. Mom just stared at the flickering screen. I looked at the box under the tree. Still glowing. Still burning. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor of my childhood bedroom, the one with fading posters and the twin bed they never upgraded. The closet was still half full of trophies they never came to see me win. Debate. Honor roll. Mock trial. Achievements they called cute, while Candace's nail art certificate got framed in the hallway. I should have been packing for New York. Instead, I was staring at a printout of the property deed, with my name on it, signed, notarized, filed, as if I willingly handed over my entire future. My chest ached with the weight of it. That kind of betrayal, it doesn't scream. It simmers. Like acid beneath your ribs. But I had more to do. I pulled out the burner phone I'd used to contact the IRS tip line. Logged into the secure email chain. And there it was. Formal investigation initiated. I closed my eyes. Breathed in. Breathed out. There's something brutal about realizing your parents were never protecting you, just grooming you for silence. They thought I'd keep my mouth shut because I wore cardigans and read case law for fun. They forgot the part where I remember everything. Every time they skipped my birthday dinner. Every time they borrowed from my savings with a promise they never paid back. Every time they praised Candace's charm and laughed at my intensity. I wasn't intense. I was preparing. The next morning the storm began. Candace's salon? Closed for permit violations pending investigation. Dad's name? Flagged in 3 financial compliance systems. The bank called before breakfast. I stayed silent at the table while Mom stared at her phone like it had betrayed her too. You did this, she said under her breath. I sipped my coffee. Calm. Controlled. You built the fire, I replied. I just lit the match. That's when Dad came down in his robe, pale, hollow, years older than yesterday. He didn't speak. Just sat. Like a man watching the ocean pull away before a tsunami. You think they'll actually prosecute? Mom asked him, voice shaking now. They might, he said finally. The evidence was organized. I looked up. Yeah, I said. Law school does that to you. And for once, they had nothing to say. 2 weeks later, the IRS wasn't the only one circling. A civil attorney emailed me, confirming a class action investigation was underway. 3 other small business owners had been mysteriously denied permits the same month Candace got hers approved in record time. The city wanted answers. So did the bank. I didn't have to say a word. The documents spoke for themselves. Photos. Voice memos. Signatures. All pointing to a tangled web of bribes, fraud, and identity theft. And in the center of it, my father. The man who used to kiss my forehead goodnight. Now ducking reporters behind tinted glass. Candace tried to call me. Twice. First to beg. Then to scream. You ruined everything, she yelled over voicemail. Why couldn't you just let it go? It was already done. I didn't respond. Because some things should never be let go. Like stealing your daughter's future. Like mocking her dreams with a champagne toast. Like saying, it's her turn, as if fairness was something you assign. I focused on the next phase. My college account was drained. Yes. But I'd applied for reinstatement of financial aid, and now? An anonymous tip about fraudulent financial tampering had landed on the desk of the university's bursar. The aid office called me back in record time. They'd reviewed my case under new context, and I was reinstated with merit scholarships restored. It didn't end there. The law firm where I interned that summer, they offered me a real position. Not clerical. Not coffee fetching. Litigation research. Case building. A seat at the table. You've got teeth, my supervising attorney said over Zoom. And a memory like a vault. I nodded slowly, heart pounding. Because the same skills they called too intense were finally being seen for what they really were. Lethal when necessary. Christmas came and went. So did New Year's. The house fell quiet. No decorations, no laughter, no fake family traditions. Mom stopped calling. Dad lawyered up. And Candace started selling salon equipment on Facebook Marketplace, one item at a time. I watched. I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. I just kept moving forward. Because revenge isn't about celebration. It's about clarity. Knowing you refused to let someone write your ending for you, and instead picked up the pen with bloodied fingers. The day Dad's name hit the local news, I was sitting in the back corner of the university library, laptop open, earbuds in, but no music playing. I just wanted to hear my own heartbeat slow. The headline read, "Businessman accused of using daughter's identity in real estate fraud." And beneath it, a grainy photo of him leaving his office, surrounded by men in suits with tight jaws and clipboards. The comments were brutal. Old clients, angry neighbors, former coworkers, all suddenly remembering strange things he did with paperwork. And tucked between them, one anonymous comment that stopped me cold. I always wondered why his other daughter disappeared from the spotlight. Now I know. Stay strong, girl. I swallowed the knot in my throat. Because someone saw me. Really saw me. I wasn't invisible anymore. And then, a knock on the library window beside me. I looked up and there she was. Candace. Mascara smudged. Coat wrinkled. Hair tied in a limp knot. Not the confident business owner they used to brag about. Just my sister. Raw. Unraveled. I stepped outside. Frost hung in the air like breathless tension. "Please," she said softly. "Don't take it all." I blinked. I already did. "No, I mean don't leave me with them." With her. I looked closer. There were purple shadows under her eyes. Lines too deep for someone barely 30. "What did they do?" I asked, voice colder than the wind. She exhaled. "They blame me for everything. Mom keeps saying I let you turn into this, like I could have stopped you. Dad won't talk unless it's to yell. And now that the money's drying up, they're turning on each other." A flicker of pity sparked inside me, then died just as fast. "I warned you," I said. "You let them burn me." And you smiled through the smoke. Tears welled in her eyes. But I didn't move. Didn't hug her. Didn't reach out. I just stood there. Because this wasn't healing. This was consequence. "Please," she whispered again. "Just tell me what happens next." I looked out at the campus lawn. Snow dusted the benches. Students laughed in the distance, free, unburdened. I turned back to her. "What happens next?" I said. "I build the life they said I couldn't. And you figure out who you are without stealing from me." She didn't follow me when I walked away. This time she let me go. Weeks passed. Dad's business license was suspended. The salon lease was revoked. Turns out forging a signature on a permit application has consequences. Even Mom's name, once clean, showed up in one of the shell account disclosures I'd anonymously sent to the bank. They called it a web of familial misuse. I called it karma in high heels. I didn't go back home. That place wasn't home anymore. It was just a stage set where I'd played the role of obedient daughter for too long. Instead, I stayed in my off-campus apartment. Small, drafty, with mismatched furniture and a leaky faucet. But it was mine. Everything in it had been earned, not gifted with strings attached. The quiet was healing. Every day I walked to class holding case files, surrounded by people who didn't know my past, only my work. And slowly, my reflection started to feel like someone I respected again. Then one afternoon a letter arrived. Cream envelope. Heavy paper. No return address. Inside. A formal apology from the university's financial director. And a check. $6,800. The exact amount my father had taken from my college account to invest in Candace. It wasn't much compared to what was lost. But it was proof. Proof that systems could correct themselves. That when you fight back, not loud but with precision, the cracks begin to show in the walls that once boxed you in. I used that money to pay off my books, cover bar prep, and finally buy myself something my family never gave me. A sturdy, real leather briefcase. The kind with weight. With presence. With permanence. A symbol. And on the night before my graduation I stood in the mirror, running my fingers over its stitching. I imagined my father sitting alone in his house. No business calls, no fake holiday speeches, no daughters left to impress. I imagined Mom scrolling social media, watching the daughters she raised walk in two very different directions. And Candace? She sent one last text. I hope one day you forgive me. I didn't reply. Forgiveness wasn't owed. It's earned. Like trust. Like peace. Like power. I didn't need an apology. I just needed my future back. And I took it. On my terms. Graduation day. Cloudless sky. Wind crisp with early spring. Students hugged their families. Cameras flashed. Laughter echoed. Me. I stood alone at the edge of the crowd, gown pressed, cords tied, heels planted deep in the grass like roots finally grown. They didn't come. No surprise. There were no congratulations. No flowers. No proud tears from the sidelines. Just silence from a house that used to feel like a home, before it showed its teeth. But I wasn't empty. Because when they stole my college fund, they didn't know they were funding something far more powerful. My transformation. After the ceremony, I walked slowly to the campus gate, where a man in a dark suit waited with a simple folder in hand. Miss Hart, he asked. I nodded. On behalf of Price and Fallon, we'd like to officially welcome you to our litigation team. Full salary. Full benefits. You'll be co-lead on the city fraud case. I took the folder, breath catching in my throat. It was real. Not a handout. Not a favor. Not something anyone else bought for me. My work. My name. My future. Later that night, I lit a single candle in my apartment. No celebration. Just silence. I pulled out the old gift box I'd given Dad that Christmas. The one that started it all. Inside. A flash drive. Encrypted. And on it, every document he'd ever signed under my name. Emails. Scans. Loan forms. The first forged withdrawal. He never guessed I'd had a backup. Never imagined his quiet daughter would be methodical enough to leave breadcrumbs, but not crumbs leading home, breadcrumbs that led to his end. He opened that box on Christmas expecting cufflinks. He got a mirror. A digital reflection of every lie. And I watched him tremble. Not because I hated him, but because I knew. He finally saw me. Not as the failure. Not as the background daughter. But as the storm he created. And the fire he could never put out. I didn't burn bridges. I built highways out of the ashes. Let them laugh at the beginning. Let them toast my name with mockery. In the end, it wasn't about revenge. It was about reminding them that what they buried wasn't a girl. It was a seed. And I grew.